Hey, so you want to learn ChatGPT? Okay, cool. Well, I suck at YouTube, but I'm pretty good at ChatGPT. So by the end of this video, you should go from total beginner to knowing your way around the tools so you can start using them. So first of all, why use ChatGPT? Well, it's because it's the most popular one. You want to be using the one that is going to be around for a while. So I made a little chart with Google Trends, and it has the four most popular ones, and you can see it's just miles ahead. So it's a safe bet if you're going to learn anything to learn the one that has the widest adoption. And so ChatGPT, it's just everywhere. And you're going to go through a bunch of stuff in this video. I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible so you can get the most value. But we're going to cover the models, the navigation, some tools, and some other stuff. But let's go one by one. So there's these things called models, and you've probably heard that word before, but you can just think of them as a brain. I have a model, you have a model. It's the way that the computer is trained. And there's good ones, there's less good ones, there's premium ones. And in ChatGPT, you have base models, premium models. So what does that mean? Well, I took a screenshot of ChatGPT, and if you're on the website or the desktop app or the mobile app, you'll see this setting. And if I went into mine, at the top, you'd see this drop down. And if you pop that open, you can see all these different options. These are the different models. They have really confusing names, but all you need to know is the base ones are usually the ones at the top. And they're cheaper and they're faster, and you can ask them more questions. They're the base. They're the ones that you should be using if you have a quick question and you just want an answer. And they're really good. Now, premium models are the ones towards the bottom. And as of today, February 18th, the best one is OpenAI's O1 for advanced reasoning. Now, why would you use something like that? Just real quick, a premium model is a different type of model, and we have two types. So we have the premium, and this is going to do something called chain of thought. So just to make it simple, I would say I have a question that I asked it, and then the model's going to come back, and instead of it just answering really quick with one answer, this would be what a base model would do. It would just say question, answer, and it would look something like this. So let me scooch that over, and then we have base models and premium models. In a premium model, it's a little bit different because you'll ask it a question, and then instead of it just saying quick answer, it's going to think. And in there, it might actually start saying what it's thinking about. So if I asked it, what's the meaning of life? It's going to say something along the lines of, the user wants to know what the meaning of life is, and so on and so on. If you want to learn more about that, I have a different video. But that's what a model is. And those are the two big differences. So you'll notice in ChatGPT that you'll get limited numbers of responses if you're using the premium ones. So you always want to kind of lean towards using the base ones if you're going to be asking a lot of questions. If you have a harder question, sure, go ahead. Use a premium one. So something in models that needs to get covered is you've probably also heard what a prompt is. And a prompt is the way that you talk to the computer to get the most amount of value out of it. Because humans, when we were growing up, we were trained with picture books and building blocks, and we had rattles and Legos and all these different ways to learn our language, to learn how to live in the real world. Whereas an AI model, it basically was fed a bunch of internet. So its way of responding to people is different. It's not the same. So the way that it worked, the way that these models were trained, was you basically had a bunch of internet, and we don't need to get into that because it's probably pretty boring, but it eats up a bunch of internet, and then it has to learn how to respond in the best way possible. And so it will answer questions differently based on how you ask it. So a prompt, let's say a level 1 prompt might be like, I need some help with my homework. Okay, well that isn't very helpful. That might be like a level 0. Level 2 might be, I need some help with my math homework. Another version of that might be, I need some help with my statistics project, and we're covering X, Y, and Z topic. Reply with the following format. So you can see that we're slowly kind of working our way up to what would be a better prompt, because this was trained on the internet and not the same way as a human. You have to be very, very specific. There's a lot of cases where you'll want to do some role play. So you say, you are an expert on statistics, and I need some help with my statistics project that covers the likelihood that I will subscribe to Parker's channel. Plug. So this would be another level. So you slowly get better at writing these prompts. The models eat those prompts up. Models respond better to better prompts. And that's the basics of it. And prompts are reusable. So you might say, hey, this one's giving me good responses. Like, instead of me, putting it over here in this base model, which you could say is the prompt, and getting back a one-word answer, when I put in prompt level 2, or let's say in this case level 3, I get way better answer. And so you might say, wow, I like this one, so I want to save it. And I think that's a good idea. I have a full folder full of them. There's actually entire websites just for this. Whether you're doing image generation, there's a website for that. Or if you're doing marketing research, whatever it is, there's a bunch of websites that have really good prompts. I also have a whole library on Trouble Free, which is my website. So then you'd say, okay, cool. Like, I have a decent prompt. Now I can just change out some of the words. So you are an expert on topic. Help me with my thing I need help with. That covers thing I need help with. And so you end up with these templates. It's like an ad lib. You just kind of fill in the blanks whenever you want to use one. You can house them in an Apple Note or whatever. So that's prompts. Next, we're going to cover the main navigation. So let's actually get into ChatGPT. So when I open it up, you'll see I have something that will look a little bit different than yours. Depending on the account plan that you have, I have a paid plan. You'll see a few things at the top left. So you have the new chat button. That does what it sounds like. It'll open up a new one of these. You have Sora, which is their video model. Now, we heard that word video and we heard that word model. Well, yeah, it generates video. So there are different types of models too. There's the text ones, which is what we're covering in this video mainly. There's image models, which generate images from text. So I could say, hey, make a picture of a cat. And it would do that. There are video models, which is what Sora is, and they're promoting that. And that's where I can write, hey, make a video of a cat walking down the stairs. And then I have custom GPTs. Confusing word, right? But in there, these are agents that you can basically give a set of instructions, and you can say, hey, in my case, I made one that's called the landing page critic. So I can give it an image of a landing page, and I've already told it, I've given it a set of instructions or a prompt where it will always answer as something that, gives me a critic on a landing page. And I give it some markers like, hey, judge it on how easy the copy is to read, judge it on the design, judge it on the readability, the accessibility. So you can give it a bunch of different things, and then it'll always respond that way. So you're not, always saying, hey, do this. So you could make one, in our case, to be the homework helper, the project helper, the researcher. And you could say, hey, I want to make one, and these are the things you're always going to do. So in that case, you might say, rules, be concise, however you spell that. But yeah, you'd give it a set of rules, typically 3 to 7 is a good number. But that would be what would be in the top left is a custom GPT. And you can hide them from the sidebar, you can keep them there. We're not covering how to make them in this video, but that's what that is. You can explore other ones that people have made if you click there. What else is in this nav is you have projects. So I think I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm just excited to show you projects because I think it's probably one of the most helpful ones. So we have projects, and then we'll go to in-chat tools. So projects are a collection of chats that can follow the same set of instructions, as well as some context that you give it. Now, context is important. It's what you basically give the GPT in memory. So context could be our prompt here. We could say, hey, like, you're an expert on this, right? And then we could actually upload some files to a project. So let's make a little drawing just so you can really hammer it at home. So let's say in this case, I have the analyst, or let's say statistics project. And in statistics project, I can give it a couple things. I can give it custom instructions. I can give it files, which is context. And then I can have separate chats. And that's really helpful. So if I had a statistics project and I said, okay, let's put in this prompt or this set of custom instructions, and then I say I want these PDFs because that's the project that I'm working on, then I can just put that in there. And what's so cool is then every time that I want to do that particular task, I just create a new chat and I can have a bunch of them. And that's really, really helpful because then I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to say the same thing over and over and over again. I know you're probably looking at this fisherman guy. We'll get there in a second. So let's keep going. Now we've covered the basics of the projects. Now there's some tools within the chat. So if I go back to ChatGPT and I'm in a chat, you'll see the same thing in a project. So I have a project called Proof Promise Plan, which is supposed to make me better at writing hooks because like I said at the beginning of the video, I suck at YouTube and I'm good at AI. And in here, I just gave it a set of instructions and I said, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna be really good at writing hooks and you're a world-class copywriter and you specialize in high impact, here's a prompt, right? So I put that in the instructions and that way, anytime it responds, that's like the first message in a chat. Instead of me saying like, hey, every single time, let me paste this thing in, it's just gonna have that, which is really helpful. And so within a project, then I can say, oh, let's have a new chat. And this set of tools will exist in a normal chat too. You can also change the colors of them, but let's start to show what those tools look like. So we've covered the models, just to kind of update everybody. We covered that, we covered that, we covered that, we covered all that. Great, cool. And we kind of hopped around, but we're gonna cover the canvas and all these interesting tools now. So let's continue down our journey of the analyst. So let's say I want to create a one-page report on how McDonald's affects your weight. Okay, that's pretty simple. Now you'll notice there's a few tools in here. There's this search thing, but I can't do it because I have search disabled for O1. Now if you remember, O1 is a premium model. So you'll notice there's some features, some tools that aren't available when I use a fancy model. So in this case, I'll go to 4.0 and then I can use search. Now this is going to go off and it's going to search the internet, search the web, right? Now you can't use attachments if you're searching the web. So you'll find that there's different combinations where stuff works and some doesn't. You also, as a test, I guess we'll just fire that off and see what happens. So it's going to search the web and I can see that it found some websites and it's given me something pretty interesting and it will actually add in the citations. So if I scroll over them, I can see what's going on, which is nice. Now that's the search tool. Let's say I wanted to work on this. Kind of wanted to collaborate with it. Let's get a different song. Okay, we have no music now. So let's tie in another tool. We're going to cover the canvas. So let's say I have this and I'm happy with the draft. Then I can click on this button and hit canvas. Now, as soon as I do this, I can paste in what was provided to me and it will open a new tool called Canvas. Canvas is a collaborative editor. It's kind of like Google Docs. So if I paste that in, it's going to immediately pop open what looks like a document. And you also notice I just click this sidebar thing and it closed it. That's what it does. So now I'm in Canvas, and Canvas is writing out the doc. And what I can do is I can start editing with AI. So this is where it gets really interesting. Now I have my one pager, and I can highlight things and start to ask GPT about that particular highlight. I can also bold it. So it's a mixture of a text editor and AI, which is really, really nice. And if I had a question about this particular part, I can say, I'll say, add more statistics. And the way that you talk to these, even in something small like this, is still a prompt. So every word matters. You usually like to use strong language. Instead of saying, please, can you do this? Hooray, please, please, please. Actually, just have some confidence. Tell that thing what to do. So now it's added a few statistics. That's great. And you can see that on the left-hand side over here, I've got a lot of stuff coming back. Now, anytime you get a response, there's a couple things that you can also do in here. So you can copy what it says, which is really nice when you get a big response back and you want to copy it. You can just hit copy and it's done. If you like the response, you can grade it, because then it'll start to get better over time. You can say that was a bad response. And this is based on different types of responses. So if you had one that was about a code project and you didn't like the way it was doing it, then it will learn how you like code. Different thing with words without code. You can have it read aloud. You can also edit this in the Canvas. So if I wanted to do that and I wanted to throw it in here, I could do that. There's a few other tools we're going to cover in the editor. So if I wanted to, I can hover over this thing on the bottom right, which means I got to move myself. 1 second. I'm just getting in the way of progress here. Where do I go? Let's go here. So now I can hover over this thing on the bottom right, and this is packed with features. So I can add emojis. I don't want to do that. I don't know who would want that. I can add final polish. And the way you can think of this is it's basically got a prompt that it's going to run. So it's going to say something along the lines of, hey, the user has done some good work here. We don't need to change the meat and potatoes of the content, but polish it. That's most likely what this would look like. If I click on that, we can see what it does. It's going to run through and it's going to give me an updated version of it, which is really cool. You can see the progress over here on the left-hand side. So we can see what it's doing. We can see it's kind of going through, it's thinking. It looks like it's adding some dividers, which is nice. And you can also see while that's kind of going that at any point, if you wanted to, you can go back in time. So I could do the previous version. I could see all the versions. I could go ahead a version if I have already gone back one. I can copy the whole thing, and then I can also share it. So if I needed to share this with a friend, a colleague, I could do that. So this is still going, and it looks like it's about to be done. Cool. It says it's refined the text, and it's going to give me exactly what it did, which is nice. You can see if I highlight this, I can reply to a reply. I don't need to do that right now, but I could. So maybe if I said, well, I didn't want large titles, then I could reply to that particular piece. Cool. Other stuff in here, you have reading level. This is probably the most important one. If I'm going to choose any of these, it's this one. So they always say that the best writing is for a 5th grader. So what I always do is I just scroll down. I don't like kindergartner. I want middle school. What that will do is it'll simplify the language for you. So this is particularly important when you're writing marketing copy, sales copy, any sort of writing really. They say the best teachers are those who can take the complex and make it simple. So that's what we're doing here. We're just having it do it for us, which is great. And that might take some time. So while that's going, you'll also notice on the left-hand side, so again, we have this kind of like split editor thing going. Right side Canvas, left side is the chat. I can change the model. Now, it looks like I'm kind of locked in because I think it's that I'm in Canvas. But if I was not in a Canvas, this is where I'd change the model. That's just kind of like the global setting, just so you know. And if I ever wanted to make a new chat and get out of Canvas, because right now we're in Canvas mode, then I could just hit new chat. And if I wanted to get back to it, I'd open up that sidebar I go back into a thread. So they call them chats. I call them threads. Let's just call them chats. I'll stop calling them threads. But you can see I have all these in here. You can archive it if you want to. You can do a couple different things. You could share it. I could add this to a project. So if I've done a bunch of research in one and then I want to make a project out of it, then I could do that. I could also rename it, archive it, or delete it. In this case, I kind of want to keep looking at it. So if I wanted to get back into the canvas, then I'd click on open in canvas. If I wanted to open it up here, I can open up here. So we've opened it back up. The last setting we'll cover is the adjust length. So I can change it to longest or shortest. We're going to keep it because I don't want to make you guys wait any longer. Other tools, if I wanted to add an image. Now we covered this kind of as an anecdote earlier, but image models are the ability to generate images. And this brings up a good topic. The different qualities of them, they sometimes have just good outputs for illustrations. And when I say output, it means the thing that it gets back to you. So it's a nerd term. You know, you've heard it before in other areas of life, but it's like inputs and outputs. Inputs are the things that you give into the machine. Outputs are the things that you get back. So this is just a simple kind of comparison of some of the popular ones. This is an article that I found off a quick Google search. But the point is, OpenAI's isn't that great. So we're not going to cover the different models in this video, but if you want to learn more, just go ahead and Google up image generation comparison. You can see it kind of is nuts. Like this guy, I mean, they're getting really good. This was generated, you know, the tell is always the eyes. Eyes always look a little bit weird, but they're getting better. So if you wanted to, you could generate an image and you could do that right in here. So I could click on use Dolly and then I could say, hey, add a photo of some French fries. One thing is it will never give you in ChatGPT, it typically won't give you branded stuff. So if I said make Mickey Mouse eating McDonald's, it's going to say, hey, that violates our policies. Go away. So let's get our bearings here. We covered Dolly briefly. We did the editing of docs. We did this. We did not do voice. So voice is really important. And I will make a dedicated video for this because there's so many good ways to use it. But let's just give a quick example. So there's two different things that you can do here. One is voice mode. So as soon as I click this, it's going to open up what looks like someone that I'm talking to on like a FaceTime. And it's real time where I can just talk to it. And a good use of this is I use it more on the phone, or if I'm brainstorming something, then I can kind of talk to it and say, hey, like, can you think of the pros and the cons of this approach? And it's like you're on a phone call with AI. And you can use it in here, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But that's one use case. So it will ask you for your microphone, and then I'll say, hey, what are you thinking about this paper so far? How can I make it better?
Your paper looks great so far. To make it even better, you could add more specific examples or personal stories to connect with your readers. Also, breaking down complex ideas into simpler terms can help your audience understand the information more easily. Keep up the good work.
Wow, what a good guy. Cool, cool, cool. So that was an example of the voice mode. Now I clicked on end. If I wanted to mute my microphone, I could do that too. And you'll see it shows me exactly what I said. So that's what I said. I can copy it. I can also see how long it was that we talked. And then I can see what they said back. The they in this case is Cove. You can change the voice if you want to. You can also copy, mark it, hit replay, edit in the canvas, and then overall just rate. I always recommend rating things because it will make your experience better over time. So that's one thing that I like to do. Now let's cover a couple more things. The iOS app has this, the desktop does not, where you can kind of click a button and then talk to it and then it'll transcribe it really quickly and you can see the text before it goes. That doesn't exist in this. So if you want to talk to it, you just use the voice mode. There's another tool that I use, but it's for a different video. It's called Whisper, but I can just hit a hotkey and then start yapping and it'll post it in there, as you can see. But that's for a different video on my channel. And those are the voice modes. So those are really, really helpful, and I highly recommend using them for learning. That's one of my favorite things. So now let's do a couple use cases because we haven't gotten very tactical, and I want to show you some of my favorites. So headlines. Headlines are something that if you're a writer, you should be thinking a lot about, whether it's a school project or even an email. Headlines is the first thing that somebody's going to see. So I can make a quick project in ChatGPT, and I'll open it up, and let's make one from scratch. And I'm going to just say headlines, and it gives you an explanation of what a project is. It's going to say it keeps chats, files, and custom instructions in one place, keeping things tidy. Awesome, cool. One great thing that just came out, breaking news, is you can use the fancy models. We haven't covered the specifics of, the benchmarks and all that nerdy stuff in here because this is for beginners. If you want that, again, you can check out my channel or Trouble Free. But we can select a fancier one and it will give us a better answer. O1 is going to take the longest. O3 Mini is, like it says, it's faster, but it's not going to be as good. And then Mini High you would use for coding, and it's going to be fast. So this one's the most expensive. Just remember that. And then you'll typically use, if you have a paid version, then I would recommend always using O3 Mini. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to give it a custom instruction. And just to save time, I'm going to use my whisper thing and talk to it. Hi, you're a professional at writing YouTube titles, and I want you to generate 10 clickbaity titles that are increasingly more clickbaity. You will receive a rough idea for a video and a draft of a title, and you need to return the 10 titles for the publish date that's coming up. So in here, you can see how I kind of structured it. I started with some role play. So I said, this is who you are, and this is your responsibility, and this is what you're going to get, and some urgency. I like to do that. So this is how I write prompts. And there's a nerdier way to do it. I'll give it to you really quickly, but please don't click away from the video. Basically, because it's trained on the internet, if you were a total pro, this is an advanced tactic, but I'd say you'd have, the role, you'd have the purpose, you'd have the instructions, and then you'd have the input, and you'd have the output. These are called XML tags. So you'd have one for each of these. And if you're already like glossing your eyes over, then just skip ahead a few seconds. But this would give you the absolute best version. And this is coming from the pros of ChatGPT. So this is beginner mode, or this is actually like intermediate mode. So just focus on something like this. But if you want to be a pro, you could do this, and you just basically take the parts. So you'd say you're a professional YouTube, and you put it there. You'd put the purpose in there, the instructions in there, the input and output. The reason is because, again, it didn't grow up on the same types of learning that we did. But let's just use this. And now we're going to use this video as the use case. So it has instructions. If I wanted to add files, I could. Like one example might be that I take the 50 Mr. Beast titles and I put them in a text file, and then I put them in here, and that would be good. I'm making a video on how to learn ChatGPT for beginners in 2025, and I cover all the different topics in about 30 minutes and try to make it as easy as possible. The title that I'm working with right now is ChatGPT Tutorial for Beginners 2025. Okay, I'll fire that off and let's see what it comes back with. You can see that it's reasoning, you can see that it's thinking, and bam, master ChatGPT in 30 minutes. So this would be the least clickbaity, and this would be the most, right? Pretty helpful. So I like that response. And you'll see that this will be one of the titles that I use in this video. Depending on the number of views at the time that you watch it, you'll know how good it was or how bad I was at recording. So that's a great use case. Now, another use case let's cover is, we kind of talked about this one. Oops. Now the use cases, I think that there's probably a better last kind of tool that I want to show you that I didn't cover yet, which is if I click on new chat, and let's say I want to learn something. I want to learn a new topic. then I have what's called the fisherman prompt. And please just can you see how awesome this drawing is? But what it does is it gives the AI or ChatGPT a prompt that says, hey, I want to learn this new thing. Can you make like a lesson guide for me? So you could make one, and I recommend you do this now to learn on learning ChatGPT. So here's the prompt. This one's one of the fancy ones, right? So this has a couple tags in it, but you can just copy this from the description, and that's below. And I'll say this, we're gonna use the fisherman prompt, and I'm gonna say, I'm a beginner at using ChatGPT, and I want to learn ChatGPT so I can be better at writing. Cool. And I wanted to follow the rules to generate a comprehensive yet concise mini course for rapid learning. The course should contain chapters that teach me about these subtopics. Okay, great. Well, the subtopics I want to have it cover are models. I want to have it cover the canvas, and I want to have it cover any new tools. And then there's some rules in here. So it's going to use concrete examples to explain. It's going to use emojis. It's going to generate it one at a time. And this is great. And I found this on another YouTuber's channel. So prompts are everywhere. You just got to look for them. So now what this is going to do when I send it off is it's going to start breaking down what I wanted. Now, any topic that you want to learn, it will come up with something. And what's cool is it did its reasoning thing. If I ever want to check out how it thought, I can look at that, but who wants to do that? And then I can see, okay, let's go through the models. Well, their algorithms trained on a vast amount of text data. Okay, great. I can see some concrete examples. I can see a scenario. This is kind of like stuff that we just did, right? And then at the end, it will add some questions. So if I want to move to the next chapter, then I can. But I would recommend making a project for this. And what you can do is take the prompt that I gave you, so this one, and anytime that you have something new that you want to learn, you can just kind of fill in the blanks. And then you can ask different questions about different topics, and you have this awesome teacher that's always there. So that's really cool. The voice thing, I was going to cover this. Sorry that this is out of order, but if you did want to learn via voice, then I could pop open a new chat and just say, hey, I want to learn real quick about fly fishing. And can you explain what fly fishing is in 2 to 3 sentences, and use the internet to find recent information about fly fishing? And then give me a few examples of, fly fishing or something like that, right? And then you can get into a chat and actually have this tutor that you're talking to. So I think that that's a really, really solid use case for it. And then let's see, I think the last thing was I was going to say that you should subscribe to the channel, because I have an iOS video that comes out tomorrow, and it'll cover all the iOS stuff. And there's a bunch of other videos that are coming out. If you want to go deeper on this stuff, then check out Trouble Free. That's my education company to teach you guys how to use all these tools, because I use them all the time. And if you're not using them, you should. I promise you they'll be helpful. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Oh, that's right. You gotta like the video too, because that helps me out. All the YouTube-y stuff, that'd be helpful. Have a great day.